Hello and welcome. This is Africa in 10 minutes, where we bring to you trending business news from around the continent this week, courtesy Footprint to Africa. I'm Mike Mesikeno, and it's great to have you on the show. Let's take a look at the highlights for this week. Google grants 200 million shillings for top Kenyan non-profits. Nigerian financial services platform Lydia raises $6.9 million in Series A funding as group targets new markets in Africa. And in East Africa, fuel tax plans by East Africa governments add inflation fears. AFDB names Ghana Finance Minister best in Africa. East African lenders dominate this year's African Banker Awards. Zimbabwe puts infrastructure development as its top agenda as country finally becomes a member of the Africa Finance Corporation. In Ghana, April's producer price inflation rises to 6.4%. Now the news in details. Technology firm Google has unveiled a 200 million shilling grant for non-profit and social-based enterprises using technology to improve lives. 12 finalists of the first African Google Impact Challenge, which must be registered charities in Kenya, will share the grant for ideas that can improve the society. We believe technology can help local and national organizations to better reach their goals and solve some of the continent's most pressing challenges, and we are eager to back people who are using new technologies in ways to make a positive difference in their communities, said Google Kenya Country Manager Charles Murito. Lydia, a digital financial services platform focused on improving access to credit for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in Africa, has raised $6.9 million in a Series A investment round, one of the largest in Nigerian tech history. The funding was led by Omidyar Network, the Silicon Valley impact investment firm established by Pierre Omidyar, the founder of eBay. New investors, Alethea Capital via the Muntu Fund, Bamboo Capital Partners and Tecton Ventures also joined the round, which included existing investors and Asian Venture Lab and Newit Capital. Lydia was founded on a simple yet fundamental idea: technology can unleash and empower a generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs throughout Africa by revolutionizing how risk is assessed, credit is underwritten, and customers are banked, said Tunde Kehinde, co-founder of Lydia. East African central banks forecast an increase in the prices of goods and services in the second half of this year, fueled by a jump in the international prices of crude oil and the planned imposition of taxes on petroleum products and financial services by some countries. The Bank of Uganda Governor Emmanuel Tumise Mutebile said the country's inflation will rise gradually due to the planned increase in indirect taxes on fuel pump prices and financial services envisaged in the 2018-2019 budget. He said that although Uganda's inflation is expected to stabilize at the medium-term target of 5% by the end of 2019, threats posed by the crude oil prices, food, and the exchange rate could cause a surge in the cost of living. Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been awarded the African Finance Minister of the Year at the annual African Development Bank meeting in Busan, South Korea. The award is in recognition of Ghana's recent macroeconomic performance under Mr. Ofori-Atta's watch. Recognized as Africa's most results-oriented finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta's prudent economic management has boosted confidence and optimism in Ghana's economy, hauling it out of a deeply pessimistic economic outlook from a little over a year ago. East African lenders have dominated this year's African Banker Awards, scooping a variety of accolades at a prestigious gala dinner held in Busan, South Korea. The awards, held annually on the fringes of the annual meetings of the African Development Bank, celebrate excellence in banking and finance on the African continent. At the ceremony, the CEO of Equity Group Holdings plc in Kenya, James Mwangi, scooped the Banker of the Year prize. His bank has seen impressive growth through a series of innovations and diversified investment channels away from consumer loans. Kenya's Equity Group also beat off strong competition from 4 other shortlisted nominees to win the coveted African Bank of the Year award. Zimbabwe has finally joined the Africa Finance Corporation, Africa's leading infrastructure development finance institution, after years of relative seclusion from the group. The Southern African nation is now the AFC's 19th member state, with plans to put infrastructure development at the top of its economic growth agenda, according to Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Following the announcement, the head of the state declared this week that the country is open for business. Now, working with the Infrastructure Development Bank of Zimbabwe, the AFC has already begun the process of exploring opportunities for investment. Ghana's year-on-year producer price inflation across all industries rose to 6.4% in April, from 3.7% in March, the Ghana Statistical Service said on Wednesday in Accra. According to the statistical body, mining and quarrying subsector recorded the highest year-on-year producer price inflation rate of 10.3%, followed by the manufacturing subsector with 7.2%. With respect to the monthly changes, manufacturing recorded the highest inflation rate of 1.2%, followed by the mining, quarrying subsector with 0.7%. Utilities subsector recorded no change, said Ba Wadia, acting government statistician. He further noted that the rise in the rate was mainly due to higher petroleum and gold prices. The lowest producer inflation was recorded in the utilities subsector, which ended the period with year-on-year inflation of 0.3%. On that note, we draw the curtain on this week's episode of Africa in 10 minutes. Now let's take a recap of the stories. Google grants 200 million shillings for top Kenyan non-profits. Nigerian financial services platform Lydia raises $6.9 million in Series A funding as group targets new markets in Africa. And in East Africa, fuel tax plans by East Africa governments add inflation fears. AFDB names Ghana Finance Minister best in Africa. East African lenders dominate this year's African Banker Awards. Zimbabwe puts infrastructure development as its top agenda as country finally becomes a member of the Africa Finance Corporation. In Ghana, April's producer price inflation rises to 6.4%. You can send in questions and make comments and keep up with the news on our various social media channels. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. Visit www.footprint2Africa, where these stories were called from. Footprint to Africa, business news made in Africa by Africans for Africans.